Hey everyone, so today I wanted to give you a little intro video diving in to just my thought process of garden therapy and why I really wanted to share it with you today. You'll see a lot of my mom in the next upcoming videos. Thanks, Mom. I really appreciate that. She is definitely the master and I am the Padawan when it comes to gardening. Learn more every year. I'm super fascinated by how things are grown, everything food related, and I just like to not know what kind of plant something is or where it comes from or what it looks like is just crazy to me. I want to know everything there is to know about food. So that really was the driving force in the beginning of my product knowledge class series, because I always say the pepper plant. Pepper is used on everything in almost every single meal you eat all day. And one day I was just like, is it a tree? Is it a bush? What is it? And lo and behold, it's a small ground plant that has fruited berries. And we could talk about that for a while, but I won't get into that today. But just that knowledge and desire to know, that compassion for knowledge, I guess I want to say, is I just want to know everything food related. So gardening is, I don't know, just an awesome pastime for me. And I think it's super rewarding. You wake up every morning and have like something to do and get excited about it. Like, hey plants, what's up? How's it going today? Not very sunny. Sorry guys. I just like have a little chat with them every morning and, give them a little love and attention and something like that. So it's something to do every day. And that feels really fun. And especially when you can benefit from the food and be self-sufficient like that, then the end of the year, I think that's super duper. Outside, breathing the fresh air, getting vitamin D from the sunlight, all those great things, putting your hands in the dirt. There's definitely something to be said for that. When we were gardening the other day, I asked for just a little dirt in my hand, and I smelled it, and I kind of rubbed it around a little bit, which sounds gross now that I'm saying it out loud, and kind of dirty, but, I just really wanted to smell the earth and touch the earth, being in my chair all the time. When I was actually thinking about it the other day, it's over 2.5 years I've been injured now, and I can't recall a time where my feet were on the ground, like on the earth. We had bounced around with the ideas of doing it a couple of times, but I really can't recall. So this summer, as soon as the weather permits, I at least want to get transferred and just, lay on the ground, put my feet to the earth at the very least. And just kind of breathe in and be one with the universe and all that. But I really do think there's some vibes and some therapeutic things that come out of that. So on my bucket list, once things get nice out. But to get back to the gardening and everything like that, victory gardens in a time, we're comparing our time now to that of World War I and World War II. A lot of people in the community were encouraged to grow their own gardens, and that, yes, they were rationing and short on food supplies and such, but also, to bridge as a community. Somebody would do one thing and somebody would do another. So to contribute and feel like, even if you're not part of wartime measures or you're not an essential worker, you can still provide to the community in a certain kind of way. So I thought that was like really interesting, comparing victory gardens then and today, and still how you can just derive such a sense of accomplishment and productivity, get your mind off things for a little while. Even if you don't have a lot of space, I think there's a common misconception with gardening that you need a huge yard or something like that. Definitely not the case. You can garden, you could grow herbs just on your windowsill. You could have a planter outside of the window, one of those small planter boxes that you usually just put flowers in. You could do a couple small herbs, as I said, or veggies, scallions, chives, things like that right in your planter out of your window. Another idea, like edible gardens, or rather versus grass for your lawn. Plant some fruit trees, obviously, if you have a little bit more space, but there's definitely some projects, that can be done. And you'll see later on in the video, I got a grow at home mushroom kit. Super excited about. I received the box. It had the inoculated grain inside the bags. I simply folded the bag over itself and cut a slit in it, misted with some water for a week or two, and I got lion's mane mushrooms and blue oyster mushrooms that are starting to pop off. Each box should yield about 5 to 10 pounds worth of mushrooms, so super exciting. I'm fascinated by mushrooms as well. Lion's mane is really good for memory and nerve support. Urban composting. Composting in general. You can have a big backyard compost. You can have a municipal pickup compost, a little bin. You can also bring it back to farmers at the farmers market. And what's cool, some exchange programs, you give them your food waste all summer long, and at the end of the season, they will give you back some usable compost. So I think that's really cool. Definitely perfect time of year to get your garden started. Start planning, start plotting at the very least. Gather your seeds, gather your tools, get a plan mapped out. This time of year, because the ground hasn't really hardened because of the warm sun and hot temperatures and things like that, it's really easy to go through and kind of pull those weeds out and till the garden a little bit. It's typically rained a lot and you have a lot of soft ground in the spring. So it's a good time to do a little garden maintenance and pull out what you don't want in there and put your compost down and get it ready to plant. Map out your space of everything. A lot of times I know I get excited, oh, let's grow this, let's grow that. Well, even squash, you have no idea like that this one little tiny plant is gonna come this huge vine and take up all this space. So, you need to consider certain things when you're mapping out your garden in the beginning of the year. You wanna start late April, early May with whether it's seeds inside or you're sowing some cold starters outside. We're gonna show you both in these upcoming videos. 2 to 3 weeks before you go to plant, you can do an inch or two of compost on the top. When really essentially what compost is fertilizer. It's gonna give your plants that extra boost, the food that they need, the nutrients and stuff to grow really big and tall and strong, just like they do for us too. So yes, and a lot of pollinators, and I touched upon this a little bit in the video, but a lot of pollinators like bees and butterflies and caterpillars and stuff like that, they hibernate in, your basic pollinators hibernate in leaves and debris of the final year's harvest. So, in the mulch of last year, that's where they hibernate. And they'll start to come out once it starts to warm up like that. But you don't want to rustle them up and scrape that up too early. You could definitely risk killing a lot of your pollinators, which if you want successful crops, just doesn't make sense. And plus they're really pretty to look at and have in your yard. So I'm also, I'm growing a little butterfly garden. I'm very excited about it. I just ordered the caterpillars the other day, so I'm sure I'll be tracking you on that one too. Be careful of your pollinators, but as long as it's been warm for a little while, you're probably good to go to clear that up, like I said, and get this weeds out of there before the ground starts hardening up. A lot of garden centers right now are also doing curbside pickup. I know I saw the line at Home Depot the other day and it was crazy. So that's cool if you don't have the materials, that they're offering those things, again, just see what you have on hand first. So planning. Okay, back to a little bit of planning. So take into consideration each harvest that I've done during the year. It's like a little bit more, you learn a little bit every time you do it. What was successful, what wasn't successful. And of course, different growing seasons are going to be, what was a beneficial year for cucumbers. It's either hit or miss or something like that. I've really heard you can either get like 1 million cucumbers, which we did last year, or a not very fruitful crop. A lot of things have to do with it, weather, pollinators, things of that nature. So, animals come by and forage and eat your seeds up. You don't have a good yield. Lots of different things can play into it. But also, what do I actually eat? Like, I don't know how many times we harvested this stuff at the end of the year, and I'm like, I don't even like that. Why did we make so much? Or why did we grow so many? I mean, sure, it's fun and all good to do the process and learning how things grow anyways, and having a hobby and something to do. It's rewarding to see it, check up on it every morning, see how it's doing and things like that. But beyond that, bringing in the harvest at the end of the year, why are we growing parsley? It tastes like nothing. I don't put parsley on anything, hardly ever. Yes, parsley has its place in the world. Sorry, parsley. But, just stuff that I utilize more. I drink infused waters almost every day. I put mint or basil or something like that in there. That's something that I just feel like I could personally get more use out of. So as you go through, and you'll learn over time too, just don't plant stuff that just sounds really cool and appealing to do. Plant stuff that you're actually going to use. going back to 40% of what goes into the landfill is food waste, and we all know what's up with food waste. Whether the food waste comes from the restaurant or the grocery store or your backyard, it's still emitting methane. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas that's up to 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of trapping heat within the atmosphere. So methane's bad. Food waste is bad. It's bad. So do what you can to plot out your garden in a way that you're going to utilize it best. Even I will show you a clip, insert here. Broccoli has a huge circumference area when it's in the garden. You only use the crown of the head. It's this little tiny center of it. All the rest of the leaves and stalks and stems that are completely edible and taste just fine normally go directly to food waste. And if it's composted correctly and it's naturally organic and it has some aerobic, that means some oxygen and nitrates able to start breaking it down and it can be decomposed. Yes, it's much better than going into the landfill, which is compacted with a lot of plastic and emitting those greenhouse methane gases. When you're planting your garden, what can I pickle? What can I dehydrate? Should I plant it now for its optimal growth? Like I used to get so excited and try to plant everything at once. Well, the herbs are ready so much earlier than my vegetables are that now we do full veg and really almost till it's fruiting before we start the herbs, which you could do multiple batches of herbs and just, harvest multiple times throughout the growing season. What can I pickle and preserve so I can have it later in the year and I might enjoy it that way? So also thinking about optimal growth potential, certain plants do better when planted next to one another, like complementary growth. You want to plant like things with like things. You also don't want to plant the same thing in the same spot year after year. It needs new nutrients to grow. So let me use better adjectives there. So yes, when you're plotting out your things, don't always grow it in the same spot, even if it was successful the previous year. You want some crop rotation. For example, Thai basil. I still have olive oil cured Thai basil from last year. I probably don't need to grow Thai basil this year. Just saying, if you're going into the next growing season and you haven't used up what you had from last year, just switch it up, do something else. Are you guys ready for your zero waste tip of the day? Okay, my zero waste tip for the day. While you're sowing your seeds and mapping out your garden, some cute zero wastey ideas that I have seen along the way to get your seeds going. You can use reusable things, kind of like the inside the cardboard spot on your toilet paper roll. We all know it's liquid gold these days, so get the most bang for your buck out of it. So, keep that cardboard inside that little roll. You can fold the bottom, put some mulch, compost, dirt, fertilizer in there with your seeds, and it's natural, it's decomposable. So the roots will just root their way right down through when you want to transplant or lift right out. So toilet paper rolls, similarly, you could use paper coffee cups, and then also eggshells. And eggshells are really good for the garden anyways, and you just give it a little crack and the roots will root themselves and find their way. It's pretty amazing that nature always seems to some one way or another find its way. So all those little different things, the toilet paper rolls, eggs, or coffee cups, you could use those as seed starters. And that's a great idea too, because when the seed does take root, a lot of times when you do them in the plastic trays, you disturb the roots when you're trying to transplant, that's the word I'm looking for. So all these nifty containers can be used as seed starters. You don't have to transfer it out. They can just go right in the garden. Bam. Knowledge is power. So I guess that's it. Get to gardening, get outside, breathe in that fresh air, get that sun on your face, enjoy the day, reap the benefits of it. It's something you can pass along to the kids. And for generations, you learn more about it every year. Your kids learn more about it every year. When everything starts to open back up, please don't forget about this self-sufficiency. I mean, we can see now why those things that the talents we've had, are coming beneficial again. And that should be the way of the world. get out there, enjoy some fresh air, and happy gardening.